Welcome to Keep It Humane, the podcast, where we dive deep into topics surrounding kindness, compassion, and creating a more humane world, whether it's in our communities, in the workplace, or in the world of animal control and shelters. With our hosts,
Ashley Bishop.
And Ashley Bishop.
And I'm Daniel Ettinger. This show is sponsored by Tomahawk Live Trap. Check them out, livetrap.com. Y'all know what time it is. It is Daniel Ettinger and Ashley Texas Bishop, our other Ashley Bishop. And if this is your first time tuning in, yes, there are two Ashley Bishops on the show. The other Ashley Bishop, she has some odd jobs. So she's usually here with us every other week. This week, she's actually in a bubblegum factory. She's testing different consistencies and textures of bubblegum. So her mouth is going to be a little raw from chewing all that gum this weekend. But we'll get her back next week, and we'll be happy to have her. How you doing, Ashley Bishop?
Good. It's starting to get to that ugly heat here in Texas. So, me always complaining about the weather over here, but we get into that nasty August, September Texas summer weather.
Can I ask a real question? And I'm going to go there.
Go there.
And I'm probably going to lose some listeners right now. Is the boob sweat a real thing?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's an absolute thing.
Okay. I just
absolute.
I wish this is why I wish the other Ashley, because she kind of sent us this random, not get it out your head, people. It wasn't a boob photo, but she sent us something yesterday. Hey, you're trying. If you're watching on YouTube, you're right. I'm just gonna put her out there because she's not here to defend herself. She was showing us some. We'll save it for her when she comes back from her bubblegum factory, but. Yeah, I've never experienced boob sweat like that, so I was just curious.
No, yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing, swamp ass. It's the same thing.
All right, let's shift gears because I'm sure our listeners are probably like, oh my God. Tomahawk Live Trap, they're celebrating their 100th year in business. They're a family-owned and operated business who work with humane professionals around the world to produce the safest and most effective animal handling equipment available. You can save 10% on their products by using discount code Keep It Humane. That's right, Keep It Humane in all caps. You can visit them online at livetrap.com or call 800-272-8727. Can I just really quick? I hate this person. I rarely use the word hate these days. I'm trying to manifest love. I mean that. Like I'm really trying to manifest like positivity. But I hate this person that sits here and is like, oh my God, it's so sad. The animal shelters are so full and oh, this and that. And then you try to rent an apartment for them. And they're like, no, absolutely not. You have a pet. You can't rent an apartment here. So yesterday, I'm in the process of like looking for a new place because with all due respect, the place that I like my place a lot, but I have neighbors above me and they don't realize that they're really loud people. And they're not intentional about it. They're not like rude. The apartment was not designed well, so there's not a lot of insulation between floors, and you can literally hear pretty much everything, including their cats playing in the middle of the night. Uh, so I've decided that all right, it's time to move, find something better, and I found a really cute place, really really cute place, and I went and checked it out yesterday, and I was digging it, and it was kind of a twofold thing. It's a it's a three it's like a triplex, and then the unit that I looked at was over the garage, so it was like nobody next to you, above you. It was really great. But then the landlord was like, "Oh yeah, and I live in the middle unit," and I was already like, "Oh, like that just doesn't feel good." It's like living with your parents almost. So I was like, "Ugh." So when she said that, I was like, "Okay," but I kind of was like, "I'll still be fine," because like the unit's not directly next door, like it's above the. And then. And then here's where like it all unfolded. Her body language just like changed so quickly. So I was like, hey, I just want to be transparent because I wouldn't want to be like that type of tenant. I do have a emotional support animal. He is technically, I'm not playing. I didn't go online to buy this. I didn't go to Ashley, Wisconsin Bishop's third job, which is a underwriter for
Don't put that out in the world, Dan.
No, but in all fairness, like I legit, y'all know me. I believe in therapy. I talk about that all the time. So, he is a legit ESA. What up, bro? He's like,
Marry man.
he's like, pay me by taking me to the ocean. Oh, I can't say the word, or he's gonna get crazy. The place where the waves come with their sand. Um, but anyway, so I was like, yeah, look, he's a legit ESA. What was the first question she asked me? What breed is he? And I was like, here we go. I was like, why does that matter? I'm just curious. why does that matter? I work in the industry. We deal with this a lot, like where landlords are contributing to some of this pet.
Bias.
Yeah,
Yeah.
contributing to some of this pet overpopulation. So why does it matter what breed he is? If I tell you he's a little toy poodle, or if I tell you he's a mini Rottweiler, it's going to make a difference, right? And so, like, as soon as I told her what he was, she like you could just tell her body language just changed. She's like, "Well, I know I can't discriminate, but these floors cost $7,000, and if a dog pees on them," I was like, "Bitch, this dog never peed in the house once, except when he was like a puppy, right? And the only time he's ever pooped in the house, my man goes into the freaking tub. I don't know where he learned this from. He'll jump in the tub and do it, and it's only happened like 2 times. So I was like, this bitch. I was so mad, but I was very like tactful about it. I was just like, okay, no, your concerns are valid. I get that. But he doesn't have any of those issues. And those stereotypes you talked about, he doesn't have any of those issues. Like it's not him. So then she like gives me the application, and then as she gives it to me, she was like, I just want to let you know, like you can fill it out, but I did promise the unit to the people in front of you, like that saw it before you. I was like, oh, I see where we're going now.
I
Okay.
know it.
I was like, I see. All right.
That's
So I just gently, politely put the application back on the table. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like if they decide that they don't want it, just let me know. And we'd be happy to put in an application, but I don't want to trouble you with having to like, have two applications to go through since you've clearly said that I'm not living here. So then check this out. About 3, 4 hours later, I get this guilt text from her. Oh, I'm so sorry it didn't work out for you. Like, and then she goes into this, and I had a Rottweiler. That was my favorite dog ever, but it was really possessive and territorial. So she's already trying to like justify in her mind her experience with her Rottweiler, thinking that Mooney, the only thing he hates, skateboards. This dog is honestly, he grew up in animal shelters. He grew up around people. So I just honestly, if you're one of those landlords, I hate you. I think that you're a horrible person. So there, I put it out in the universe, and that made me mad yesterday.
honestly, yeah, honestly, it's surprising that that's happening that legitimately in California of all places.
Right? And it's
I
illegal,
just,
technically.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's such a struggle, and I get it. I get it. You know, it's like with anything in the world, it's the bad players that give everybody a bad name.
Hmm.
So I get it, but at the same time, you really have to give, people an opportunity to prove, there are processes after that. You want to
Hmm.
evict somebody, there's a process to do so. I mean, I don't know. It's just it's nuts.
Well,
It's nuts.
contrast wise, a place that was actually quite a bit more expensive and a nicer unit overall and better floors, by the way. Um, when I told that lady, I was like, yeah, I do have a legit service, or not service, sorry, pause, a legit emotional support animal. She's like, okay, cool, no problem. Just whatever. Like, we do need the paperwork. I was like, yeah, no problem. Like, I'll be happy to provide. Like, there was no like hesitation with her. She was like a legit property manager. So she knows all the rules and regs. This other person is just the owner slash landlord. So she's just like, I don't know. It made me so mad.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, we deal with a lot of that here, but also too the stigma of, we hear it a lot, even from the area apartments and stuff. Well, just tell them to get an ESA and they can just go online. And I'm just like, this
Hmm.
defeats the whole damn purpose. Like,
Hmm. Well, and anybody wondering, reach out to Ashley, Wisconsin Bishop. She does some underwriting for emotional support animals on her. It's one of her other jobs. So, but I don't know. It's like it's hard to not walk away from that place and be like, I hope these people that move in ruin your damn floor without any pets. With your and it wasn't even that nice. She got ripped off. This was no $7,000 floor in a 500. No, it wasn't 500 square foot, like 800 square foot apartment. It was. I put in better floors in my house in Colorado that didn't even cost 7,000. So I don't know what you're talking about, lady. Go swim in the ocean. On that note, we're gonna have a fun show. We're gonna talk about some leadership stuff. We haven't done that really in this podcast. We've talked to leaders across the country, across the world, in the profession, but we've never talked about like what constitutes, in our opinion, good leadership from both of us. We both have teams that we lead, and then we both report to supervisors as well. and we've had in many different positions in our career. So I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of just talk about that because that's such an important thing. There's a stat that floats around that I do see it uh, from time to time, usually on LinkedIn, where it'll say things. Studies show that 75% of people will quit their boss or their culture before they actually quit, their profession. And that's true. People don't like working in a certain environment. They're going to still stay in the same industry, but find a new place.
Agreed, agreed. And I think, especially nowadays, I feel like honestly, it's changed a lot in the last 2 decades. I feel like I joined the workforce, like officially in like the position in animal welfare in 2009. And it's changed a lot overall. And I'm not just talking about animal welfare itself, but just how people are managed, how people come in, how people see things. And I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but there's definitely a change in kind of the atmosphere. And me going from not somebody in leadership to somebody in leadership, there was a lot of learning curves. And I knew they were coming. And thankfully, I have a chain of command that is absolutely wonderful. I thank them all the time. And, I think sometimes they get uncomfortable because I thank them so much, but they don't understand, especially in a municipality sense of things, how grateful I am for a chain of command that one, not only understands kind of where I want to go, but also to where the industry wants to go and what we do and what we provide for the city. So I always tell everybody I'm very lucky because I absolutely am, because my chain of command is absolutely A plus plus.
Mm. That's so important when you look at who who you can bounce ideas off of, who you can get support from, who you can really rely on in situations. And I feel that same way. I have my direct supervisor is amazing. I say this all the time. Like I've worked for many different leaders, and having someone that is compassionate, somebody that is like invested in you to want to see you do well, but for the overall goal, like knowing that our goal is to, we say here all the time, help people.
Help animal.
And so in that aspect, like that's super rewarding. I can remember, working in this profession years ago where that wasn't the case. Like in animal control specifically has always had this, and if you're an ACO, you know this. We are the jack of all trades. Like, so if
Mm,
you work out of a shelter, guess what? You're cleaning kennels on a certain day, or you're helping with the front desk on a certain day. None of those
mm,
other departments come out in the field, right? It's always us that does everything. And so we had this. This was back in the day in Adams County, Colorado. We had this director that would like reactionarily, if that's a word, have us come in from the field, right? So she'd be like, I need people to clean kennels. We're going to have the ACOs do it. And then we would get so backed up on calls. It was robbing Peter to pay Paul. And then we would get, community complaints because now we're not out in the field. It was wild. So it's kind of like that ebb and flow. And you really have to figure out ways, sure, to be creative, but relying and taking advantage of that sometimes can be poor because then you're not providing the service you're intended to provide.
agreed. And I think it's like it's a teeter-totter, especially, and I know a lot of departments, who are one-man teams or two-man teams where either they're both the animal control officer, but they take care of like 10 kennels that they're housing their animals in, and they're having to, you know, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but the animal advocates of the world who don't understand what they're going through are asking for more and more and not realizing that they're playing the role of almost five or six different people. I mean, I
Hmm.
see it all the time, especially here where, we're in kind of a rural slash urban area, and a lot of the surrounding counties don't have a facility. Um, and most of them, either they tell them you need to take them to our county because we have two facilities that function in our county, or just, figure it out yourself. But the smaller ones that do that, it's just like a one man, one woman team. I mean, kudos to them because if they need help, they'll reach out and say, "Hey, do you have this, that, or the other?" And I'm like, "Sure." And whatever you absolutely need, reach out and we will give it to you. We will ask the community for you that so and so needs help. We will be happy to lend that hand out. Um, but for them, they're playing that role of everything. They're customer service, they're manager, they're animal control, they're care tech, they're the adoption specialist, they're the rescue coordinator. Um, God forbid if they also have on top of that volunteers. So now you're the volunteer coordinator. So it's a lot. I think you bring up a good point that, most of the time, I would almost, I think it's fair to say that 95% of us in this industry are wearing more than just one or two hats.
Mm-hmm. And it's really important to have that adversity. I look at as a leader, and I've made some mistakes along the way. I'm now in my technically two, three, my actual fourth leadership position with my fourth
Hmm.
different agency. That's actually a lot. And, but I'll tell you what, if I didn't have those other three experiences, I wouldn't be where I am today. And those who know me, like that may have known me in position number one or two, may think that, oh, he's never evolved or changed. I'm telling you, those experiences that I've made those mistakes. I've embraced some of those victories, but I really hone in on those areas of failure because I feel like that is where you can grow and learn the most from. And I'll tell you, like for me, one of my biggest failures early on is I didn't really, and I got this reputation, and I still have this reputation in the field of our profession, is I didn't or wouldn't listen to others. So I would just be like, this is my idea. We're going to run with this. And that one really hit me hard. And now, I really try to take that, and when I make, any sort of like decision within our team, I don't try to make that decision in a vacuum anymore. I really try to say like, "Hey, please, what do you think about this? Like tell me your approach." And then, we discuss it, and I might say like that, "You know what? That's way better than what I was thinking. Let's try this." And I think good leadership really embraces what they hear from their staff. And one of the terms, and shout out to one of my old directors, Alice Nightingale. What a cool name that is. It sounds like something right out of a,
It's like
um,
an author.
I know, yeah. Alice Nightingale wrote a book and no, she was a leader, but not an animal welfare leader at the time. But she'd always say things to me, um, sometimes it's just as important to coach up as it is to coach down. And what she meant by that was like really being open to your like I guess subordinates would be the best way to say it. Like open to what their suggestions, thoughts are, and like hear them out. Like say, they're feeling a certain type of way, but you're in this position as leadership, you automatically think, well, whatever I say goes. That's not going to get you anywhere. But there are a lot
No.
of people that do manage that way because they have this false sense of like power and ego and pride. And look, we all have ego. I know I have ego, but man, I've really tried to hone in on being empathetic in this role because I love it. The reason I love being in this position that I'm in so much is because I can directly or indirectly help people help animals. And so, whether that is us just providing a better service overall, right? Or even going out there and getting dirty, you know. What do you love most about your position?
Uh, Teaching the next generation of animal welfare,
Yeah.
I am always one, and I would hope that our team can attest to that. Is just everything that you just said. I am never going to tell you. I rarely ever say, um, we're doing this because I said so.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do, there's always a reason behind the madness. I tell everybody there's always a reason why we do certain things. Um, but at the same time, I always tell the team it's very important that you accept that knowledge is infinite. We can always change how we do things.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important because not everybody is the same. Not everybody can think the same. And, God bless our assistant supervisor who has to hear the same question from me 100 times because sometimes it just takes that, even for me, I'm like, well, how have you done this in the past? if it's working, great. If there's another way we can do it, great. But,
Mm-hmm.
I forget a lot of things. And, I think it's always important to always ask that question 100 times and do it wrong, and then it absolutely be a catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, my biggest purveyor in my position now is that knowledge is infinite and that I can always learn. Um, and I'm thankful for my supervisor who's been doing this for a hot minute. And I think for us also too, it's also really good to have somebody that hasn't been in the industry. I mean, now I would say he's an expert because he's been doing it for so long. But, it's really good to get that outside perspective because a lot of times, including myself, I'm really bad at this and I've gotten better, but I'm still really bad at it. Is I always see through this square box. Like this is what we've been doing, this is how we've been doing it, and there's no other different way that we can do this. Our biggest thing is we're not going to ask you to do anything unethical, immoral, or illegal. And if it's just different from what we've done in the past, then what is it going to hurt? And that I think really struggles with a lot of people who cannot deal with change.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, change is always good. I think there's always good ways to change things up because it breaks up the monotonous in our industry. Because as we all know, it kind of can get very very monotonous where we're coming in doing the same thing every day, going to calls. It's just, if you're in a small community, it's the same people, the same calls, and all that stuff. But change can always be really good. And I've been doing my best here recently to really prepare the team for that because moving into a new facility is gonna be nuclear.
And yeah, but embracing that change for you,
Yes.
right? Like you showing up in that aspect. Like, look, I know it's hard, and I'm not denying that, but I'm going to lead by example, right? And then hopefully your team follows suit. You can't make everybody happy. I remember this to
I
this day.
struggle with that a lot.
This was when I was working in um, where was I? Eagle County, Colorado. We had a kind of an emergency take place over the weekend where this trailer that was towing 100 dogs, this whole rescue idea of moving dogs throughout the country, blah blah blah. Well, it was towing 100 dogs in this like 6 horse trailer, and it wrecked on Interstate 70 because of the snow and ice. And thankfully, none of the animals were hurt. And so we had to create a emergency shelter, and I went about it a somewhat of an unorthodox way because we really that community is so what's the word embracing. So like,
Mm.
and so we kind of reached out to the community and had like daily volunteers. Well, it was really like a 24-hour period tops. So we had like just like people, hundreds and hundreds of people. This made national news, by the way. If you
Hmm.
Google it, you could Google like Vale 100 dog rescue or something like that, or Eagle Animal Services 100 dog rescue. Like this was all over the country. I remember seeing just clips after clips about it. Uh, but I'll never forget. So like I was a working supervisor too, so I was out there like helping with animals, kind of just leading the team in some ways, like leading by example. And we had this staff member. I'll never forget this. She and when and that's the thing. Like I didn't. This is where I talk about like I didn't embrace like learning my team at that time. Like I just kind of went in about like we're gonna do better. Like I didn't learn everybody and what their strengths were, what their weaknesses were, etc. Like it was more we're just gonna do this and that's how it's gonna be. So that was a
Hmm.
failure on my part. Well, this one specifically, she was turned down for the manager job, I think 3 times. So she had some sort of like, and that's where it's important to really be empathetic to your staff and like realize, okay, she wants to grow and she has some strengths, but maybe this manager job wasn't that. So what else could we do to help her feel like she's included and has an opportunity to grow? And I say this a lot to all staff, like I want to help you develop in your career however that is. And if it's not with our organization, that's okay. We still want to help you grow and provide you, within reason, that ability to do so. Anyway,
Absolutely.
so but this one specifically was just this shows you their true color. And I say this a lot. You learn a lot about people in adversity. Like
Hmm.
how they react in those moments tell you who they are. And so we're over there. And again, it was a little unorthodox to how we were doing this setup. And so there were a lot of people coming in. And I got told that she made this comment back at the shelter because what we did, because there were so many dogs, this rescue already had most of the dogs uh, spoken for. They were coming from Texas, of course, uh, going to Washington State. And a lot of they were like going to other rescues and stuff. So a lot of the dogs were spoken for, but there was still about 10 or so that, didn't have homes yet or whatever. So the rescue to minimize some of the stuff said, hey, we'll give those to you and you guys can adopt them out. So we sent those to our shelter and we started that process. And everybody wants a dog with a cool story. So like those dogs got adopted out quickly. But
Hmm.
this employee specifically said, I hope one of those dogs bites somebody in the face. Like, and when, yeah, exactly. Your body language, like right now. And I'm thinking to myself, like, where does this come from, right? How do we suss this out? And it's all that pent. It wasn't the moment itself. It was all that pent up frustration and anger over the
Hmm.
years, and then her not feeling like she was ever heard or had an opportunity to lead or feeling like she could do it better. And then there we are, when it's all coming to a head and learned about her. And she actually ended up leaving um, before I did there, and hopefully she's happy now. Like hopefully she's doing a job where she feels valued because that's ultimately what our role is to make people feel, value member part of the team and contribute in a way that's going to help the overall cause. And man, that was sad to hear that in a moment like that where we're dealing with so many other things. She's putting out that in the world that she hopes somebody gets bit in the face by a dog that is scared, just got into an accident, etc. So,
Yeah, and on the flip side, just to be a devil's advocate on something like
hmm
that or a comment like that, it's just God, man. Sometimes we see so many things that sometimes just gets to us, and our mouth doesn't think before we think.
hmm
And I get it, but in a moment like that, yeah, you really have to be careful. And I think one of the things that I have learned a lot in just my time here at the municipal that I work with, emotional intelligence is really important. There's a time and a place for everything. I don't care how frustrated you are. If you're sitting across somebody who has been doing nothing but talking ugly about your organization or whatever the case might be, it's not the time and the place to be aggressive about things because at the end of the day, all it shows is what they're thinking.
hmm
And I think it's very important that everybody relies on their emotional intelligence. A lot of times it's very hard. As if you watch our show, you can see because my face says a lot of things a lot of times. And I try my best. It's a work in progress. But the one thing that I've learned throughout my whole life, especially as my mom, who is such a community engager and does so many things, is that there's always a place and a time for things. And a lot of times, actually, I would say 100% of the time where you're feeling like you need to engage in something in a certain manner, it's not the right time. Um, but I feel like for myself, I've learned a lot in those instances of emotional intelligence to realize that there's only so much you can do about everybody around you.
hmm
I think that's been my toughest lesson. Is you can only preach and teach as much as somebody's willing to take in, and at that point, you have to cut your losses in a sense that um, it's hard to change people and it will drag you down in the worst way if you just eat into it over and over again, which is for myself, I've had a hard time doing.
What do you think though about like us as leaders? Like what characteristics, what qualities would you say makes a good leader?
Oh God, I think that's such a tough question, Dan.
hmm
Honestly, I think just depending where you are, it could be very different. I, for one, I'm not a micromanager. I hate it. I think it's
hmm
absolutely awful.
hmm
There's a guideline of what we can do. It's just like I'll bring up something. The animal shelter guideline that was posted by the animal sheltering vets.
Yeah.
That is a
ASV?
guideline.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is a guideline, and I feel like everybody should manage in that manner because again, people are different. Um, and it's all about making sure that you're putting yourself in everybody's shoes. You are not here to be a dictator. I have had managers like that in the past. I straight up, when I had first started at a job, I straight up asked the question about, why are we cleaning like this, or why are we doing this way? And she said, because I said so.
Ugh.
And I'm like that doesn't teach me anything. Um, I think for me it was hard too, coming into another facility where things were so different, but at the same time, and I hope this is true because I felt like I integrated pretty well. I brought in ideas, and if they liked them, great, and if they didn't, cool. This is how they do things, this is how it works here, and you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Hmm.
Um, but making sure that one, you ensure that you instill in your staff that you are exactly the same as one of them, because we are at the end of the day. You should be able to go out, scoop kennels,
Hmm.
um, participate in euthanasia, participate in getting yelled at, all those types of things. You have to be willing to participate in every single area, cleaning bathrooms if you had to. I mean, you have to be able to be willing to get nitty gritty. um I see a lot of supervisors sometimes in some of these, shelters, who are dressed in, their little pumps and their slacks and stuff. And I'm like, how do you manage to get anything done in a day in
Hmm.
an animal shelter dressed like that? Because you never know, and I tell the staff all the time, I don't care if I'm sitting in here and I'm on the phone call or something like that, but you need help. I will hang up on anybody that I have to absolutely hang up on if you are needing help for something. Don't ever feel like you can't come into my office and say, hey, everybody else is busy, or hey, I just really want you to look at this. Somebody already told me this, but I want you to take a look at this. Don't ever feel like that. My door is always open at all points in time. Um, Make sure that you are actually part of the team.
And I love that. And I've heard that a lot. I heard we had a hoarding case recently where, man, I was out there getting dirt. And I love hoarding cases. If I could just do hoarding cases every single day for the rest of my life, I'd probably only live another week, but it would be the greatest week of my life. But I heard that. I heard, wow, like, and I heard this from like a veteran that's been with the department for almost 20 years. Like, hey, man, like, out of my career here, I think I've seen like one or two managers ever do something like this, and I just want to share that that was like really means a lot to all of us. You may not see it in the moment, and I don't I don't do it necessarily for that reason. Like I'm not thinking like, oh, this is
Correct.
going to earn me brownie points. I just want to help. I just want to be helpful.
Correct.
Yeah, I just want to help. Like
Correct.
however I can help, I just want to help. And so in those moments, I'm gonna always try to be there for them, and I make it known. My door is usually always open unless I'm obviously on a confidential call or something like that. But I've been shooting for just being in this position as a leader in our profession for a long time, and I have a lot more to learn and think about it. I go back and forth about like what's next. Like, do you have any desire to do the CAWA certification?
I do. I've been looking, actually, that you bring it up. I've been looking at a lot here recently. I'm not necessarily getting bored, but I feel like I have that real big itch to learn, whether
Yeah.
it's going back to school or just taking on something that's a lot different. I've really had it here recently, even though I really shouldn't, because we're in the process of building a new facility. I really don't have any time. Shouts out to my boss, who thinks I should have a baby right now, and I'm like, you're crazy. Absolutely not.
What?
Um, yeah. Um, but yeah, I have looked into it. I think it's an interesting perspective in our industry. I think Sawa has been something that I've always wanted to get to and accomplish at some point. Because I feel like they came in at a time, at least for me, where I was like, there's nothing like this in the industry. Like all of us were just kind of like, you work at an animal shelter, you pick up shit, and some of you unfortunately have to do euthanasia and stuff like that. So I've always been interested in kind of what they can provide the industry, and how they've really made us feel like we're professionals in a world that doesn't
Yeah.
see us as professionals, I guess.
Excuse me. And um, that's what I see it a lot, and I'm so proud of these people. One of our guests recently, past couple months, Cole Wakefield, he was on about Royal Humane. I saw him recently post on LinkedIn that he got his CAWA, And I was like, that's cool. Like I see a lot of people up and coming, like being able to do that. I worry for myself because I'm such a horrible test taker. I get in my head, I really do, but I would never like count myself out for that. And maybe in 5, 10 years, it's something that I, try out, maybe study for it and really put myself through the work. But that is a cool accolade and
Hmm.
in a really good like I think overall understanding of our profession because you get to see it from all angles when you go
Hmm.
through it. I hear there's like a lot of nonprofit stuff in
Hmm.
there and like a lot of leadership and skills and just talks about like all those things that in my opinion make us, some strong lead like it's cool to see the evolution of this profession leaders. And I want to
Hmm.
briefly talk about like someone who gave me my chance in this profession. And when I say that, like it may feel like it's overshadowed by other stuff, but I can remember it. So I started volunteering at the Denver Municipal Animal Shelter at the time, almost 16 years ago now. And I just remember meeting this guy. His name is Aaron, and he was a sergeant at the time of field services, animal control. And so as a volunteer, like he was so like such a compassionate guy and just so like welcoming. And when I went to him after just doing like regular volunteer work there about doing ride-alongs, he was like, "Yeah, no problem, buddy. Like shoot me an email." And I may have one of those original emails. I should look for that. He'd shoot me an email and we'll get it worked out. And so like I just remember coming in on my first day to do it, and Aaron was like just super cool, really provided me like the sense of feeling welcomed, where maybe some of the old dog catchers didn't make me feel as welcomed. And then, but the cool thing about all that is, um, like his leadership skills have like shown throughout time, whatever role he's ever been in, and ironically or synchronically, this is maybe that's the right word. Yesterday, I got a out of the blue phone call from him, and that happened to be my 1 year anniversary with my new department, which like solidified my uh, passing probation and all that stuff. And so I thought that was really cool that like the person who helped me get into this industry just happened to check on me post 1 year, and it's not like he knew, and so those are the good people that we really find that are true leaders, regardless of what position they hold, and because you still maintain that relationship. And I see that a lot with some of the staff that I've either worked with or supervised. Like I talked to quite a bit of some of my old direct reports at some of the other agencies that I've worked at. So it just depends how you touch people's lives, and when you do it in a way that's genuine, it lasts forever.
Absolutely. And again, it's funny that you and I have this kind of similar situation where Ashley and I have similar things in common about our journey in this industry. Same thing, I started off volunteering at the major shelter in my hometown.
Hmm.
And I was just a volunteer at that time, and I got taken under the wing of one of the care techs at that time, who later became an animal control officer for many, many years. He actually just retired from that position here recently. But the supervisor at the time, she really took me under her wing, and I call her Mama G to this day. Mama Goose is what I call her because at the time I was in my hometown by myself. My mom decided to leave the state. So this is my first time really on my own. I was taking care of our house back home, and she really took me under her wing and taught me everything that I absolutely know, all the way down to the compassion. Shouts out to Nels. I still talk to her every now and then. She's always commenting on my Facebook, and if I have an accomplishment or something, she says, "Man, you've grown up so much," and it's true, and I cherish her a lot, for everything that she taught me in this world, and all the contacts I've been able to make now these days, especially now because of her. Um, I am in this industry a lot because of her and what I saw her accomplish, and I'm so grateful to her and the leadership there, in Brownsville. Shout out Bark, um, for pushing me to where I am today. And lo and behold, I go to another city that has the same acronym as them, COB.
Well, and that's so cool to have leaders that inspire. And I think
Mhm.
that's super important. And I've been touched by plenty of those in my career. I want to talk about it. We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about a leader in this profession that I just learned of today. Her name is Tallulah. I love this. Tallulah McGee. I swear there should be a country song about her. Tallulah McGee. I lost my key down by the sea. Oh, Tallulah McGee.
Oh
Anyway,
God.
that it's just such a beautiful name. And I think you can make songs about it.
It is.
This comes from animals247.org, and Tallulah is a leader in our industry, and I'm going to read about her. She's been the director of Beaufort County Animal Services in Beaufort, South Carolina.
Ooh.
Feel like you have to say that. So she's been in this industry for I don't even know how to do years, 13 years. Is that right? 13 years? 20, yeah, 2025. Yeah, so she's been a director for 13 years.
Impressive.
So again, Animals 24/7. I just finished reading about Clifford Phillips Jr., the second chance animal shelter worker in Water Valley, Mississippi, who was tragically mauled and killed by two pit bulls in the shelter on July 28th,
Mm-hmm.
2025.
Mm.
And so this article also came out July 26th, 2025. Once again, my mind goes straight to the phrase no kill. I've never been fond of it, not because I don't want to save lives, but because the slogan often comes at a steep cost. Great in theory. The idea of no kill sounds great in theory, but in practice, it often means shelters say no to animals, turning them away when shelters are full rather than being a safety net. And where do those animals go? They are dumped, left to starve, suffer, or cause safety issues in the community. It's like closing down the landfill and saying, sorry, we're full, no more TVs, no more trash. What happens next? People dump debris wherever they can. The problem hasn't gone away, it's just harder to clean up, more dangerous, and more work. That's a great analogy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought of it that way. Well, animals are not trash. To be clear, animals are not trash, but we don't provide a place for them to go when life happens. Then we are setting the animals, the public, and the shelters up for failure. I believe in open admission. Yes, we manage intake, and yes, it can be hard. We ask people to schedule surrenders when we're full. We try to help them by keeping their pets if they can. But ultimately, we need a place that takes animals in when there's nowhere else for them to go. This is a public safety issue for both people and pets. We see animals dumped, emaciated, scared, and full of parasites. Many of them could have been helped if they just had a place to go.
So, tragic situations that could have been prevented. Open admission shelters and rescues all over the US and many in other nations where turnaway policies have become commonplace are now dealing with the tragic situations that could have been prevented if responsible intake policies had been in effect at shelters that earlier refused to accept the animals. I understand that there are dogs who just need time, training, and patience. And thanks to years of work with Hilton Head Humane through aggressive spay and neuter programs, education, and pet retention efforts, we have finally been able to give some animals more time. But the reality is, we don't control what comes through our doors. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
If 90% of the dogs we take in are unsafe to place, then yes, our euthanasia rate will be higher. That doesn't make us bad, that makes us honest. Absolutely. Transparency, people.
Mm-hmm.
What worries me more is how many dogs we now hear about who were adopted out, especially from out of state death row rescues, who go out on to bite and maim or kill.
Absolutely.
We hear it all the time. We adopted this dog from a shelter and saved it from euthanasia, and now it's trying to kill our other pets. And I have to say, that's probably why it was on death row in the first place. I'm not against saving lives. I'm against saving lives at all costs, especially those when those costs are safety, suffering, and public trust. Not every dog can or should be placed, and that's the hard truth of this work. Amen. Um, we are not the enemy. We are trying to protect people, protect other pets, and protect the animals who are left with no options. This is a hard, emotional, and often thankless job. But if we can all agree on one thing, it's this: spay and neuter your pets. Bob Barker was saying it in 1979, and it is still the foundation of everything we do today.
Facts, super facts. So that's the reason I wanted to point that out in a leadership episode is because it takes a lot of guts to really speak your opinion in a profession where you're almost if you
Chastised.
yeah, like for having oh my God, I can't believe you would say something like that. No kill is the way to go. And it's like, okay, again, none of us who talk out about it are trying to say we want to euthanize things. We're not saying that. We're just trying to have practical decisions in place so we're not having these situations where animals are mauling people, killing pets, etc. That's the and then also it's the other piece of like making sure like our staff doesn't feel overwhelmed on a daily basis because they can never get ahead of it. And I brought this up, this article specifically in response to this other article that I saw today. Do not pick up a loose dog or cat. That is the message from Jackson County Animal and Rabies Control. According to the release from Jackson County Animal and Rabies Control, those who pick up a stray should assume they are legally responsible for the animal's care and well being. Instead, they are advising the public to leave the stray where it is, to photograph it, share the photo on social media pages, and report it to animal control. They state that they may not be able to take the reported animal because of limited space at their facility. So that's not what we've come to in this industry, in this, you know, animal welfare. Just take a photo of it and post it online.
And honestly, I feel like, not that we should go back to the days where ugly things were happening in our industry, but I feel like a lot of our industry has lost what we were created for, which is rabies control.
Mm-hmm.
And not to saying that rabies is rampant in the United States in companion animals. I mean, it does happen, obviously. But public health and safety is exactly what we are tasked to do with. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the one thing we do at our organization is one, we are absolutely transparent. If you call and say, "Hey, I brought this animal to you. It was a little, nervous, but I just wanted to see what his outcome was because I think he was adoptable." Well, Cujo over here, who settled into the kennel, got comfortable where he was, and tried to bite one of my staff members' legs off. I'm sorry, but unfortunately, we had to make that tough decision to have him euthanized because he's a public health and safety um, concern.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and and then just to go back to, even something a little bit simpler than that. Dogs who are extremely dog aggressive. How how does the world expect us to adopt out a dog like that?
Well, you put them in a single, single dog home. But that's the rationale,
No,
right?
no,
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. The problem being, and like we explain to everybody when they come in and ask these questions, is how many of, not that I'm an expert or anything, but how many of me's or Dan's or my top-notch behavior specialists in on my team are out there in the world who can handle a dog like this on a 24-hour basis?
Hmm.
How many? I can't tell you how many phone calls we get from people who are like, I saved this dog from the euthanasia list, and now it's just jumping up and it's biting at me, or it went after my cat, or it went after my grandchild. Like, why are we doing this to society? Like, I just don't understand. And it happens a lot, and I'm sure it happens more often than not, where people are putting out these pleas where, this animal's on the euthanasia list, but there's that asterisk that says it absolutely doesn't do well with any other dogs, slash, is probably going to go after your cattle and chickens.
Hmm.
Like, how many places in the world, when we're already in a spot where people don't seem to realize that animals will be animals? Yes, my dogs are my children. They're my absolute babies. Um, I know Dan hates the word children
No,
with dogs.
I've come around to it. I early on I didn't, but I've come around to it because you have to accept the fact that that is part of our society, and that's why I became so outspoken on, well, why don't we have measures in place with our taxes where we can, claim some of our pet costs because they are part of the family. So no, I've definitely come around to it.
Yeah. And it's just, but at the end of the day, they are still animals. Like,
Yeah.
they are domesticated animals. And for whatever reason, something could happen to where even one of my own dogs could bite me or whatever the case. But the reality is that the world is not like those of us who work in the industry. They cannot, a lot of times they don't see those signs. And a lot of times, especially nowadays, and I don't know if you've seen this too, it's very subtle too, where it's like a dog just there's a light switch and boom, like all of a sudden we are in absolute rage mode for just something that either I didn't see or somebody else didn't see. I just feel like it's getting harder and harder for us to really see those signs for animals who have a tough past that come in who we are trying to figure out who they are and they're just not giving us any
And again, like,
signs.
yeah,
Yeah,
to tie it back into the whole leadership aspect is we have to find tactful ways. And I know this has given me a reputation in our industry, but we have to be able to speak what we feel is right in a tactful way. I'm not criticizing anybody that believes the opposite. I just think that it's unfair that they're able to, like, basically chastise people that think the opposite, and that's okay. But when we speak out to say, hey, it's probably not the best for our industry to think this way or to have this, that we can't agree to have different opinions. That's what bothers me the most.
agreed. And I think unfortunately it's come to a point where it's if like you're not on my side, then you know
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
could be disastrous if you speak out, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
We at home base who are having to lead a team with absolute no end in sight. I hate to be the doom and gloom, but I just feel like we're not in a position right now, nor will we be, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years,
Hmm.
where we're not having to make those tough decisions.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, it's the mentality of, what you're putting out in the community, that humane education of what you can and can't do, and that you absolutely need their help in spaying and neutering, rabies vaccinating, microchipping. You really have to put that out in the community because if you don't, we're not going to get anywhere.
No, and I hope people understand that it takes us, it takes a community to change the community, and not everybody's going to have the same opinion or ideas, but if we're open to listening and open to, you know, just being creative and innovative in the way that we operate, I think we'll see positive change. I really do.
I agree, and I'm not saying everything's doom and gloom, but I think there just needs to be a little bit more understanding, both in house, your communities, your legislators, everything about what the reality is and whatever and what these organizations, whether you're a nonprofit who's got contracts or you municipality, what you're doing and how tough it is to lead those organizations when all you're getting is either, you're getting slapped on the hand for the dumbest things, when you're just trying to do your best with what you have. And, shouts out to all the leaders out there who are having to go through that, who are having to see all the nasty comments on social media,
Mm,
especially right now, during the summertime about this, that, or the other. It's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard to see all of that and see what people have to say about us, when we care so much about everything that comes through our doors.
for sure. Well, I hope that some of our listeners, whether you're inspiring to become a leader or already a leader, just continues to push forward. For those that want to get into this world of management, just keep trying, keep taking on projects, balance that with your work life. You don't want to go too crazy overboard, but still find ways to contribute. I mean, that's really important. And we're always here for questions or comments. You could email the show at podcast@keepithumane.com. You can check out our website, tvhumane.com. Check out our socials. Um, do you have any closing remarks for our peeps?
Nobody's perfect, folks. I'm
No,
not perfect. I make mistakes. Sometimes, I might not work as quickly as others, or whatever the case might be in whatever industry you work for. You're not perfect and it's hard to get past that. You're not alone. Um, it's hard to bring change to yourself and other individuals around you in a positive manner sometimes, but keep up the good fight. It's just make sure that you include yourself in your teams in any way possible. whether it's, overtime, or they just need help, or they just need somebody to talk to, you know, what are,
Absolutely.
if it's off the record or whatever, they just want to let obviously, make sure you're within the realms of what you can and can't do. But,
Absolutely.
nobody's perfect, man. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'll never claim to be perfect. And the only way I'm able to be the leader I am is because of our team. Period.
Yeah, that says a lot. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your insights to all this. I think as we continue to move forward, um, we just have to be willing and capable of evolution in the aspects of what's best for the communities. Every community is different. Every staff member is different. If you're open and willing to evolve, and not just be like, this is the way that I do things, versus, hey, like, I'm going to talk to this person a little bit differently than I talk to that person because it may work in certain situations for one and not the other. So, yeah, be mindful, and embrace it. Like, be a caring, um, empathetic, but also like be um, true to like what's needed too. Like, you don't have to just bend over backwards for everybody. Like, that's not gonna provide strong leadership either. Like, you have to say like, look, I hear you and I respect that. However, we do need to do X, Y, and Z for the betterment of the profession or the animals or the community or whatever it may be. So,
Or if it's the opposite too.
yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with that. Um, again, for those of you who are under leadership, understand that you don't know everything that's going on behind closed doors. You don't know
Yes.
the emails or the talks or anything that has been done or have been done. If you have those concerns, bring them up. But it's tough. I'm not saying it's been a tough ride. Over the last couple of years that I've been doing this, it's been a lot of learning and a lot of help from not only the staff but also my chain of command, who, you know, um, be willing to embrace your faults,
Hmm.
because we all have them. We're not all perfect. We all make mistakes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as we like to say here, thank you for listening. Let's continue to
Help people.
help animals. Keep it humane.
Keep it humane.